Good evening, friends. I hope this finds you all sensational. As most of you know by now, I'm Chris Thrall, host of the Bought the T-Shirt podcast. And before I say any more, if we can do a sound check in the comments, please, and I'm going to play you this. What was your favourite food over there, Chris?
Where? Like Hong Kong or China?
Well, I've been in both.
What's my favourite food? I can tell you what my worst food is. Do you want to know that?
Let me guess. Is it going to be related to smelly fish?
Well, maybe. One of them was.
Go on then.
Dick. Dick. I had a lot of dick. I ate a lot of dick.
Chris, we doubled up there. I said hello to you twice, Chris. How are you, mate? Hey, the pleasure is all mine and all the podcasts. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat, Chris, the other day. So for friends watching, Chris and I did a podcast the other day. Chris is hands down the guy that I know that knows the most about anything to do with the ancient fighting skills and also the modern ones. Star of straight stage, screen, and have you ever had a book out, Chris? Did I ask you that? I can't. Yeah. So stage, screen, and book is what I'm trying to say. I saw some really good feedback, mate, from our chat. I think people appreciated that it went a slightly more deeper inside, let's say, than your average fight chat. We managed to get a bit of oh, hang on. Thank you very much to Brooke, who's just let me know Chris was on mute. I was just saying what a great chat Chris and I had, and some of the comments I was reading and some of the messages I got were fully appreciative of the fact that we probably went a bit deeper inside the head than you do in your average fight talk. So, yeah, did you get any feedback, Chris?
Yeah, it was. Well, first of all, it was a wonderful chat, and I didn't realise we were chatting for about 3 hours. We got into some stuff, didn't we? Yeah, I've had some really positive feedback as well. Some of my guys from the club and students have watched the podcast and just said it was brilliant. So, yeah, really good, really good.
Yeah, well, the thanks is all mine, mate. It was really enjoyable. I love to have these heart-to-hearts and get stuff out on the table that's not normally discussed.
Yeah.
Can we dive straight in tonight, Chris? I'm thinking of our audience.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the special forces around the world and their unarmed combat training or their strategies and their skills?
Well, that's a good question. It's all very secret, isn't it? That sort of stuff, Chris.
Yeah. Once you told me,
we'll have to come around there and kill you.
Yes. I've got the moves.
Well, I think military combat is a really interesting field. Personally, it's something that I explored when I wrote the book as well. It's really interesting to me because martial arts can be quite spiraling. You know, it can be something that you can, like the combative aspect of it is something that you can spend decades really training in and understanding. But the sort of military training arts, you have a very set period of time in which you have to do your training. So I think is it hand-to-hand combat in the Marines, in the UK Marines? What's that? Is that 6 weeks or something? Is it?
Oh, I'm going to embarrass the core now because it's obviously changed very much. What with the theatre of war, having been in the Middle East for 20 years, where some of these guys, I mean, literally. The chap I spoke to yesterday, Brian Wood MC, very lovely man, won the MC for leading the first bayonet charge in like 25 years.
Jesus.
They actually had to dismount their vehicles, fix bayonets and charge towards the enemy, and put in a section attack. And, obviously, I didn't push him on the nitty gritty of what happens when you jump into that trench, but you're jumping into a trench with your enemy. If you don't kill them, they're going to kill you. So from that perspective, from the Royal Marines perspective, they do a lot more hand-to-hand combat now, and they'll be doing the hands-on stuff that really works and really gets you out of a corner when you need it. When I was in, we had a morning in the gymnasium. If anyone wants to read about this, I'm going to punt my book here. It's this anecdote is in my memoir, my first memoir, Eating Smoke. And the PTI fell us in on the mats in the gym, so which was our makeshift dojo, I guess. And he said, "Right, fellas, if you ever find yourself behind enemy lines with no weapons and only your fists to defend yourselves, you're fucked." So far better I spend the morning teaching you how to keep how to keep your end up in the local boozer. And what ensued was then a 2.5 hour lesson on how to pub fight, So it was right. If a guy comes and grabs you like this, you're doing this, and it was all about sticking the nut on, kicking in the nads.
Yeah.
Lots of
all
kicks.
Good stuff, Chris.
Yeah, lots of kicks to the stomach. I do remember grabbing the thumb and then turning it to get rid of a weapon and this sort of stuff. But to get back to your original question, it really was kind of an anti-climax, I suppose you could say, if we thought we were going to join up and suddenly become these highly trained ninjas. And of course they had the Royal Marines Unarmed Combat Display Team, which probably gives the public the impression that all Royal Marines are these just ultra fighting machines. What I will say is it's got back more to that now, because the guys have had to have these skills. If they didn't, the outcome could have been very different for many of them.
I did a weekend training course a while back for the Marines over at Stonehouse Barracks, and I was teaching a knife fighting course there, and I was really surprised to hear some of the lads tell me that they had to buy their own knife.
Okay. Yeah, it's not. Again, I'm talking. I joined up 30 years ago, and some things have changed, some things haven't changed, or the majority hasn't changed. But we believe. I think we were issued back then your bog standard Navy penknife, which consisted of a blade and the they call it a marling spike. I think it's the spike when you're undoing knots.
Yeah.
And when you went in the field, you didn't even really take that, to be honest. You took your bayonet, obviously, so the SAAT bayonet, and the training team are really good at selling you stuff in training, right? They've got all these deals with local
suppliers,
outdoor equipment dealers and stuff like this. Now it'd all be done online, but and they got us all to buy a Normark knife, which is a quality Norwegian brand. When I got to my commando unit, I just carried my Swiss Army knife just on a pouch. I think it's one of the few professions you can get away with actually carrying a knife on your everyday sort of wear. When we were on ship, was it the buffer? I'm not sure if that's the bosun, if that's the same person, but he took a shine to it, his Marines. And so even though there were only 12 of us, we got these knives. I think they were called, I can't even remember. I was going to say Golok, but I think the Golok you get issued when you go to Norway, and it's like a bushcraft knife, a very basic one.
Yeah.
If you go to the jungle, which I didn't during my time in the Marines, you get a parang.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, they're not very good. They're not very well weighted, because I've got one, and I just love using the machete that I bought in Central America. It's got so much more kind of chopping power to it. Sorry, it's me, but you did ask. There was one anecdote I can tell you where we were training for Northern Ireland, and they chucked us all in the lorries and took us off to a naval depot, so some sort of dockyard somewhere, or some naval like equipment dumping ground. And one of the guys, Jan, he found a big sheath knife, like a military sheath knife, is, I don't know, 12 inches long or something. And he had it in his in his webbing for Northern Ireland. And we were doing this bit of training, and I think our troop officer said, Corporal so-and-so, I think we can lose the knife. If you were to ask the guys now, if anyone's watching, if you've served recently, and especially if you served in the Middle East, or let us know what would you take. I mean, if I served again now, I'd probably have a good bushcraft knife, Chris, you know?
Yeah. I think like you just kind of, I think the sort of normal person, when they think of the Marines and they see that dagger as part of their, the commando logo, you just sort of assume that that's something that you'd be given, or and I was quite shocked to find out it's not,
Yeah, I got mine about 25 years after I left, or about 23 years after I left. I got it presented to me at a run ashore that I organise, and the guys chipped together and got me this Commando dagger. And I'll be honest, Chris, I daren't like rip the box open. It's in like this presentation case, and I daren't rip it open because I don't want to find out it's plastic.
Yeah, made in Taiwan.
Yeah, so it's on my wall at the minute, and as far as we're all concerned, as far as the podcast is concerned,
it's legit.
It's a steely-eyed dagger in the teeth. Let's go and do some damage behind enemy lines. But that was the bread and butter, mate. This is the sort of stuff that you'd know more about than me. This was the bread and butter of the Commandos in the Second World War. When they went behind enemy lines, they had issued this dagger. Could somebody put in the comments the name of it? It's slipping. There's a specific name for this short dagger, and it literally was to shove in people's windpipes and rip the windpipe, or shove it into the up the ribs.
Not the Fairburn, is it?
That's it. Fairburn and Sykes.
Fairburn and Sykes, yeah, because I looked into a lot of their early work, and I think, was it Fairburn who was in Shanghai? Was it Fairburn or Sykes? It was one of those guys, was in Shanghai fighting 100 years ago, and he came back, didn't he? And he was he'd had the shite kicked out of him like nobody's business, left to die in the back alleys by the Triads, and he developed a knife fighting system, which he then brought back to the UK troops, and that was kind of rolled out just I think pre-Second World War to the troops, and that's, I think, where that dagger came from, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it could well be. That's ringing bells. There's talk now of the Royal Marines returning to that sort of commando role. You probably have to think kind of a bit laterally there why that might be in the changing landscape of combat. I think the traditional warfare as we've known it is obviously changed a lot now. What with electronics and drones and this sort of thing, and the biggest one, of course, is night vision goggles, isn't it? You know, and the advances in, back when I served, the most sophisticated night vision was this big sight. It was about that big. It sat on top of your weapon, and when you looked through it, so long as you had a bit of starlight, it was called a starlight scope, it would amplify that light, and you could got this vague, you know, in Northern Ireland, you basically would look through it and you'd see couples having a bit of nookie after the pub kicked out. But of course, now the advances in that sort of technology have come on leaps and bounds. So the face of warfare is obviously going to change with it, because you can't hide, can you? You know, the infrared, you know, where the heat, the thermal imaging rather. That's you just can't get away from it. So. Yeah.
Didn't the Predator get away with it though? Wasn't Schwarzenegger? Didn't he roll himself in mud to get away from the? There is always that option, Chris.
Yeah, I'm cold-blooded, mate. So you can't. Cold-blooded by name, cold-blooded by nature. Yeah. So we were talking about special forces, weren't we? They're fighting. Have you come across? I mean, I've seen some of your images actually online of you with Chinese special forces and stuff.
And Taiwan, I think we filmed actually in Taiwan with with their special action force, their police force, their special, their sort of you know, their SWAT team. And I suppose the other filming that you might come across is the special action force in the Philippines, who are a real interesting bunch of guys. They're counter-terrorism response team, and obviously they do a lot of close quarter kind of combat training. And Philippines is the home of knives as well. You know, they're world-class knife fighters in the Philippines. They have a lot of their art stick and knife fighting, and so, you know, even though obviously they're weapons based, you know, I think they're trained by Delta actually, special action force, but their combat is really top notch, Chris. Knife fighting, just fantastic. What those boys can do with knives, you know.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm not being rude, Chris. I'm just looking at the YouTube to see if we can get any footage of it up. Maybe we'll come on to that. It's kind of hard to see because it's not on your channel. I'm guessing it's other people's video, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. But yeah. So what makes a good knife fighter then? What do they know that someone like me wouldn't?
Well, I can tell you what they say in the Philippines makes a good knife fighter. It's a guy with a lot of scars. So don't trust a knife fighter if he hasn't got scars. I suppose like exposure to the reality of what it's like. I mean, there's the practical training, Chris, but that aside, experience really, isn't it? You know, so you can train all day long, but like Bruce Lee said, it's what did he say? Dry land swimming. You know, you can practice your swimming strokes, but until you get into the water, you don't actually know if you're any good. So I suppose that's one aspect of it. That's what they say in the Philippines, anyway. You know, they have a real flow about their movements, Chris. The Filipino knife training methods are really quite unique. You know, it's listen, I would say it's like Tai Chi, but with a knife. It's bizarre because they use the elements of the opponent's force against them. So they don't, you know, they don't sort of, they don't just, it's not just like cut and thrust and slash. You know, they're actually getting quite close quarter, and they're using the other guy's force against them. So yeah, it's fascinating art. It
sounds gruesome. I'm just thinking of all the, I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to get the point of that blade to penetrate someone's rib cage, aren't you, or other body part. It's I bet there's lots of ways of accomplishing that.
And also, you know, like where they cut as well, and like they'll train. I mean, this is probably a pretty standard thing, but they'll train rushing people. So they've got this exercise that practiced in the Special Action Force, where they demonstrate a knife fighter against somebody with a handgun, and how long it takes that person to, if they're unaware, they see somebody running at them, how long it takes them to release the gun from the holster, to cock it and to aim it. And that's like it's probably a second or two, but they say, and I've seen them demonstrate this from, they say 10 paces, but I reckon about 6, when they run at you really fast with the blade. And they'll I mean, we did the exercise on one of the shows, where they said, right, okay, here's your weapon. Try and pull that and get that on that guy before he cuts your guts, poof, with a knife. And, I'd probably say like 7 or 8 times out of 10, the knife fighters can get the cut on the guy before he draws his weapon. So if you know where to cut and you're committed, as you'll know, if somebody's committed to an action, it's very different to, it's very different to if they're not, isn't it?
Yeah, is it hard to get that degree of actual realism when you're doing drills?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they'll train with live blades as well. The problem is with knife fighting, isn't it? That it's the problem is that it's not like boxing. You can't just put gloves on. And I mean, we train with wooden knives. We train with blunted knives, and there's an electric knife as well that you can use. That's quite good because it stimulates a bit of adrenaline when if you get touched by that knife, gives you an electric shock and it really hurts. So it stimulates adrenaline to a degree, but I think you can train, but you can get better. I think the realism is, Chris, you get better at doing something, so you can learn a course of action. You can't 100% guarantee you're not going to get hurt or killed. You can just improve your odds slightly. My view is I'm very realistic about training with them. I say to people, don't, martial arts, Chris, it's full of nonsense, isn't it? They say tap. It is though, isn't it? Honestly, like, here's the blade, tap it that way, and the guy will fall over, and then grab him this way, and he'll flip over. It doesn't work like that. When it's like when someone's got a sawn off toothbrush in the prison, and they just shank, don't you? They go crazy shanking you. So I always say, real simple, start off like this, assuming there's one person. 2 beats 1, right? So 2 hands generally beat 1 hand. So he stabbed you maybe a few times. Just get hold of the arm properly. Take the arm first of all. So 2 hands. Don't just hold it like that. Get that body into you. Fight him. Hold him in. So you lock up that stabbing arm. You've only got a few seconds before he twigs it and switches the blade to the other hand. So, in that time, start hitting and try and do some sort of disarming technique. I think when you're training, you have to, there has to be an element of brutalism to your training. But also there's got to be an element of finesse and practice. It's a funny old mix, Chris, because it's like, if you go to some of these classes and it's all beautiful and it's not, people aren't spitting and bleeding and swearing at each other, it's not realistic. And then if it's too realistic, your training's too short-lived, because you don't want to keep going to that club and having your nose broken every Friday, do you? So I think it's a bit of both you need.
Yeah. You did always wonder, I mean, I know we chatted about Bruce Lee. We'll chat some more about him, but obviously a lot of everything that you see of Bruce Lee, for the vast majority of it, that what we see, I mean, is scripted, isn't it? It's choreographed, and you do wonder, like, if you chucked him in the ring with the bloody Russian from the Rocky movie, he's only got to catch Bruce Lee with one punch. That's,
that's the reality, isn't it, Chris?
Yes. What about Krav Maga then? The Israeli Defense Force fighting skill is that all you hear about? That's pretty hands-on, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it's really quite an effective art if it's taught and used properly. I mean, the IDF have a lot of practical experience of applying that. You can find Krav teachers, good Krav teachers, all over the place. And it's very practical, isn't it? It's just about defending yourself quickly, hitting them in a certain way. I think pretty much everything comes with it's a kick in the balls and a punch in the face. So I like Krav because I think it's a counterculture to classical martial arts. It's a counterculture. It's something you can learn in 6 weeks, right? Or, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. The thing that, the downside for me is that I don't tend to see people stick at it for more than a couple of years, maybe. Whereas more classical martial arts, it's a lot slower, the progress. But if you stick at it for 10 or 20 years, which sounds like a lot, but it's not if it's a hobby, Chris, If it's something that you enjoy, it keeps you fit and it's a hobby and you've got a good community, then I think there's a lot more benefits. And I think to martial arts, we had this conversation before, Chris, I know, but for any new people that are listening, I'm very strongly of the opinion that martial arts are not just for fighting. That's one aspect of it. But if that's the only thing you focus on, I think you miss a lot of the self-development, the understanding, the sort of intuition that you can develop, the meditative practices, the philosophical practices, and other such words that I can't spell.
Yeah, I mean, basically, to actually exercise your skill is an extreme event, isn't it? You're basically being attacked and you've got to defend yourself, and that doesn't really happen that often in life. Not as you get older, certainly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But all the back stuff, the philosophy, the training, the discipline, the knowledge, the knowledge of the ancients, the history, the culture, it's so much more, isn't it?
It's definitely helped me in my life so much. I think as a youth, had I studied a combat, we call them combatives now, so a combative art, if I'd have done 2 or 3 years in Krav, I'd probably be able to handle myself all right, maybe. But then the other bumps that you meet in life, it wouldn't have any effect on it, like on the stuff that comes to you, stresses of life, just generally sort of like getting on in life, and that I'm not sure that would have helped me as a human being. It would have, helped me in the pub a couple of times as a 20-year-old man, but that's probably the extent of where it goes, and a bit of physical fitness. But so I think like committing yourself to something for a longer period of time that has that like underlying like self-development at its core, at its essence, is definitely. I wouldn't have got into spirituality, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have read a Buddhist sutra or whatever it is. I would just wouldn't be interested. As a youth from Birmingham, I'm not interested in that. But it's educated me in a different way, and it's led me to go to university and to study and to try and live a productive life in the community and try and help other people. I just think, I think if it's fighting only, then I think there's more to it than that, mate. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just playing some of your footage in the background while we're chatting, so please don't hit me for copyright.
Don't be silly.
What I was going to say is, with the spiritual side of things, and I'm guessing for our younger listeners and watchers are probably of the notion like, what is all that about, or why, or it's just not really, they're not at the time of their life where that kind of thing sinks in. But do you think that as you get older you get more spiritual? Because if you're a seeker in life, like a lifelong scholar, I don't know if sage is the right word, but you get to a point where you realise all the other quick fixes aren't going to bring you that peace in your heart. So you've done all the drugs, you've done the drinking, you've done the scrapping, you've bought the fast cars and watched them either smash up or rust away. You've tried to be a hit with the girls and drink more beers than anyone else and all this sort of stuff. Do you think there's something in that?
Yeah, man. Massive, isn't it? We're seeking, aren't we? We do all these things because we're seeking something and we don't quite know what it is. And it's actually peace and tranquility. It's stillness, and it's a connection with the universe. And we try and find that in distractions. And ultimately we burn through those distractions, like you explained. You know, the fast cars, you crash them, or you drink too much and you have a hangover, and you're just going down a destructive path. We think that we have to destroy ourselves in order to understand ourselves, but actually it's not. It's one way, but it's not the only way. We do need positive influences in our life. We need guidance. We need to seek wisdom, and there's wisdom out there. But first, we have to find enough tranquility in ourselves to be able to hear the wisdom, because people can say it and they can say it, and you can come across it, and it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't, the time isn't right. But eventually, you get to a point where where things start to make sense, Chris. And I don't know if that's a certain age thing. It probably is. Yeah.
You've got to have that seeker gene in you, though, haven't you? Because it's like I will never stop looking for the answers in life. Mm-hmm. It's just the way I am. I'll try one thing, I'll do it to death, as people well know, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Then, then I'll have a go at podcasts and see how much happiness that brings me, and then I'll read another book. But I'm guessing we're driven, aren't we? We're kind of people, we're driven from, I don't know if it's from birth or whether it's from our young life experiences, but we kind of know there's more out there for us,
It's a good point. Yeah. It's a good point.
Because some people are just not interested in learning, are they? They don't read, they'll say, I've never read a book. Not that books is the only way to learn.
No, I know. I know what you mean, mate. Yeah. I can't help wondering sometimes if they're the smart ones. I meet people sometimes, and some of them have such a profound wisdom. I mean, I just tell it, like, I remember, I'll never forget, I must have been 20 years old, wandering around China, and I came across this old fella. I walked into some village somewhere, and he got off his bicycle and he looked at me. He'd never seen a foreigner, and he was just like quite intrigued, and he put his hand out to shake my hand, and he must have been, Chris, I guess the guy was, I don't know, I was young. People look older, don't they, when you're young? But I guess he must have been 70. And he shook my hand and he lifted me up off the ground. And I was like, what's this about? I'm not used to that kind of strength. He said, do you want to come and get a drink of water? I was like, yeah, okay. Went into his house. He had a rusty old tin. Sat down on the floor, had a little chat with him. Drank some water out of this rusty tin. Thank you very much. Told me a little bit about his life, and off I went. And his simplicity, I don't know, I guess he must have been a farmer or just a Chinese peasant. The simplicity was just profound in this guy. I mean, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but sometimes you come across those people, they're so simple and profound, and they have an innate strength or an innate spirituality they don't even try. Those people really, I find really, really fascinating. And I wonder, like, all the books I've read and the places I've been, like yourself, and the things you've studied, and it's like I'm trying to come back full circle. And actually, have I missed the point by confusing myself with all this stuff? And I suppose, like, the point of Zen, for example, is to study it all and then just throw it away. Like in the temple, they'll build these, well, in some of the Tibetan temples, for example, they'll build these ornate, you may have seen them, it's like sand. They're not sculptures, but they're beautiful, huge works of art out of different coloured sand, and it'll take them years, right? Yeah, you've seen that. And then once it's complete, it'll take it years and years and years of work. And then once it's completed, at the moment the last drop goes down, gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Incredible. It's a different philosophy to that which we're taught growing up, where you kind of hog everything and you keep stuff alive and you try to accumulate more and more, and to be able to put that much effort into something and concentration and focus and time and just be able to go like that, I think there's definitely a lesson in there.
Yeah, it's non-attachment, isn't it? It's like you attach yourself to all the wrong sort of things. I think that's what they're saying, and then you've got to be able to have the courage to say, right, no, get rid of it. Speaking of which, I've been cleaning out my garage, Chris, and I've discovered, Yeah, I'm a hoarder. Me and my wife, she's helping me tidy up some stuff that was in the garage, old boxes, you know. And we've been going down the tip every day this week, throwing stuff away, trying to be more zen-like.
Yes. Yes, we could all do with that, couldn't we? I tell you what, there's nothing like going up in the attic, starting in the attic and working your way down and going through every single drawer.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And just getting rid, or at least boxing up stuff that you just make a rule. Have I used it in the last 3 months? Yes or no? If it's a no, it's gone, and it's a really nice feeling to do that. But
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
The trouble is, it's easy as a single man living in a 2-bedroom house on your own.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to start on my son's bedroom. We've got some questions here, Chris, so let's have a look.
Yeah, great.
Brooke is asking, what kept Chris motivated to keep at it all these years?
That's a great question. Hi, Brooke. Thanks for asking that question. That's really something. It's a really important question. Really, really important, right? Motivation, because motivation is the thing that will give you the win, or it's the thing that will kill off whatever endeavor you're doing. Motivation. I have read so many books and quotes and memes on motivation, and honestly, I struggle to understand what people are talking about when it comes to motivation. So what I would say is this, right? I think the key is, don't think too much about it. Just love whatever it is that you're doing, because if you love what you do, you don't need to be motivated. You don't need to feel tired. All you need to do is find the love of the thing, right? And if you don't have any love in the thing that you're doing, then you're probably not doing the right thing for you, right? So I'll give you a quick example. I won't bang on too much about it, but it's something I always talk about to my students about, because we can have real talented guys come along. They train with us for a year or two, but then it's rare, but some of them drop off and their motivation wanes. And the thing is, you can have guys who are not so talented come to us as complete beginners, but because they find the love of the thing, they'll stay with it for 10 years and they become absolutely fantastic. So whatever it is you're doing, say if it's martial arts, find the love for it. You've got to have a good teacher. Maybe your teacher's no good. Find a good teacher who can inspire you, and just be honest about it as well. If the class that you're doing isn't working for you, if it's a bit shitty, just move on. You don't owe anybody anything at the end of the day. If it's not working for you, move on, because you're more important than, your teacher. You mustn't be a servant to your teacher. You mustn't have that attitude, because sometimes that can happen as well in classes. Let's be honest. People can be a bit too, respect is one thing, that's right, but it's not right to, just like give up all of your dreams and feelings and hopes, and that's not right. So find the love of whatever you're doing, I would say, and everything will take care of itself. Everything will take care of itself.
I'm just browsing through. Sorry, Chris. Very good points you're making. I'm doing my multitasking bit. So I'm looking at you. I'm guessing you're in South Africa or somewhere.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? You mentioned the place last time we had a chat, KwaZulu-Natal. So we went out to Zululand and then out to brilliant. Out to, in fact, that Rorke's Drift.
Yes. Let me just pause here, because I've had a bit of a binge for my hour of TV in the evening, which isn't TV, folks. It's YouTube, basically, some documentary I can find. I've been watching or catching up on a lot of the Zulu Wars. And bloody hell, isn't it, There's one thing having a fight for fun or for sport. It's another when you're fighting for your life against a determined enemy, and there's no Geneva Convention. You either put up a fight or you run away as fast as you can or you die. And that stuff down there in
Zululand, yeah.
Zululand was just bloody hell. And these guys had to go through that and then just, come back to England and get on with their lives.
Yeah. It's still pretty rough out there, Chris. As you probably know, we had a story after I was filming this show, I had a mate come over and we went out traveling, and we went traveling around, and we went up to the border of Mozambique. And cut a long story short, we were staying in this very remote place. It was a safari, but it was kind of empty. Middle of the night, we hear automatic gunfire going off in the distance, and dogs barking. And what had happened was some of the local Zulus had come in to the camp, and they were hunting impala, which is like a deer, to eat them. And basically, the safari had hired a tracker and a dog to go find the Zulus' dogs and kill the Zulus' dogs. So they'd done that, and then the Zulus came back and they burnt down the hotel that we were staying in. We're in little grass huts out in the sticks there, and they were coming forward, burning properties. We didn't have any weapons or anything, just me and my mate in the middle of nowhere. And we could hear this gunfire getting closer. We could see the huts starting to be burned. We were like, right, what do we do? And it was a bit of a tense moment, really. We sort of hid the bags, opened up the curtains, pretended it was empty, lied down by a stone wall and waited. Because, of course, if we'd have gone out into the middle of the night and run, there was lions, tigers, everything running around in this place. It's just, so you're food for one, or you're, fodder for the other. Yeah. So it does still get a bit rough out there, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just playing a little clip, or the sort of clips we saw in our childhood of the riots in the townships. So the riots against during the apartheid regime. Yeah. When the locals would riot with the police officers, and it was crazy to see these guys running down the main street with a spear and a shield. But of course, it's all tribal in Africa, so you might be chucked into a township or a slum, Soweto being the obviously one of the biggest ones, but you come under your tribal kind of faction, and your history and your culture. It was quite stunning to see. I'm being careful what I'm playing here because we can't show explosions and stuff, but you can see people there holding the spears and the spear throwing arm. In Mozambique it got a bit fraught at times because where are we? Let's get us back. One of our teams out there, their shapper, so their pickup truck, got flagged down in a village by the locals from that village, and they stopped the truck, and then they got our team out, forced them out of the truck with a machete point, and it was during a cholera outbreak, and of course somebody had put it into the locals' heads that the Acuna, so the white man, brings the sickness, brings the disease, and it was quite a tense moment. But the other thing I was looking at there, Chris, I might just try and go back to it, was did you get involved in any of the witchcraft?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you did.
In Africa and in Brazil. So in Africa, I went to see some of the shamans and the witch doctors, and I was exploring Muti, which is it's an African belief about it's like something to give you a power, let's say, for fighting. So really, what I was interested in, Chris, was the effect of the mind. So when you take these things in that culture and you believe these things, how does that affect you? Because in my view, a lot of it is about kind of belief. I think the power of belief is massive, much more than we recognize. And I think that, when you see doctors say things like, oh, well, 30% of people can be cured with placebo, so that's a load of nonsense. Hang on a minute. Did you just say 30% of people can be cured with nothing? No side effects? Wait, why is placebo a dirty word? Why aren't we exploring this more? Oh, that's right, because there's no money in it. Sorry.
Yeah. Apparently, if you wear your underpants on your face these days, that you don't get sick. There you go. Like, how do we miss it for these billions of years of evolution? That's enough about that.
Brilliant.
Yes, it's very powerful as well. As powerful as religion is in some people in Western society, it's almost like a psychological disorder in some way, isn't it? That someone will stick to the Bible as its literal translation, and you can be sat on a bus in the UK and the person next to you believes that women can have babies without having sex. It's quite irrational. But then when you're in Africa, when I was in Mozambique, one of the lads I worked with was born in Mozambique, and he'd been adopted by Danish parents from about 8 years old.
Yeah.
Now you would think, oh, this guy's Danish, he's going to be westernized, he's going to be Europeanized. But within 3 or 4 months of him going back down to Mozambique, that's why we were working with him. We were working in a remote village, in case anyone's wondering. And we were helping out at this sort of local school, working with street children. And this guy fell in with the local lads. Obviously, this is where he came from. It's his heritage, right? And he's sort of, let's say, 23, 24. And within 3 months, that was enough for him to be coming up to me and saying, Chris, I'm thinking of going and seeing a witch doctor. What do you think? And how do you even begin to try and rationalise with something like that? This guy's had a Western education, or a European or a Danish education. And he'd had a cold sore break out on his face, and he was convinced that somebody in the village had put this curse on him, and that's why he had this cold sore, and he was going to go and see the witch doctor. And sometimes, even as a white European, you had to go and see the witch doctor because you had to have people see you go and see the witch doctor to put the fear into them. So, for example, one of my colleagues down there ran a farm, and she started getting robbed. She got held up at machete point.
Yeah.
And so she had to go to the witch doctor to be seen to be going to the witch doctor.
Yep.
So the people would know, now the witch doctor has put a spell on anyone that's going to go and attack her, right? It's Yes. We've got another question here. Let's just get us back big. Dun dun dun. I think this one's for me. Have you ever done a triathlon, Chris? Oh, Chris, have you ever done a triathlon?
This Chris or that Chris?
I'm just asking you.
Oh, no. I've not done triathlon.
Okay, I'll take this one then. CMC, thank you for joining me twice in one day, brother. Or is it sister? I'm guessing it's brother. Just like anything, you put your name down on a triathlon race and then you train for it. It really is that simple. You can start small. They do them, you swim like maybe 2 lengths of the pool, and then you cycle for 5 miles, 10 miles, and then you run 3 or 4 miles, right? Or you can just go straight in a bit at the deep end and put in for a half Ironman or an Olympic triathlon. And that's it. And I mean, as long as you've got a wetsuit on, you're not going to sink. So you can't really go wrong on stuff like that. my first triathlon, I did an Olympic one, and I came last. It's quite funny. My little boy was on the finish line going, "Is Daddy going to finish yet?" I was about 40 minutes after everybody else. And so what I did is I put in for I arranged my quadruple Ironman distance triathlon for 8 weeks later. So I came last in my first triathlon. 8 weeks later, I did a quadruple Ironman. So I'm not saying that to show off, folks. I'm just saying it to live your dream. You know, just put in for it.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
Yeah,
just go for it.
Just put in for it. So, what else have we got here? Yeah. Bum 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 bum. Don't forget, put your questions in capitals, folks. So, Chris.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
People are saying, addressing it to. So the question is, what was the best, or brackets most memorable, life-changing event experience in Africa for Chris? South Africa or Mozambique? So I'm guessing that's aimed at me, but you can take that first, Chris.
The most life-changing experience in South Africa. Let's see. Well, I suppose it could be. I worked with a young Zulu chief's son. He was about 30 years of age, I guess, and I was doing stick fighting, and I had to fight with him. We became friends, and I discovered through that friendship that such was the power of his belief in mysticism there, and the shamans and the witch doctors, that one night we decided to go steal a goat from a neighbouring village, and it's a bit naughty, a naughty thing to do, and bush justice is dished out. So basically, if you're caught stealing a goat, it was a kind of lads thing to do. It was a bit of fun, and we went out anyway to a neighbouring village, nicked a goat, and the only reason that he was willing to get involved in this, because they'll kill you, they'll shoot you on sight if they see you stealing goats. The only reason he decided to do this was because we'd been to a witch doctor, and the witch doctor had given him a little potion that he puts on his wrists so that he wouldn't be harmed. He was terrified beforehand, but afterwards he was still a little bit scared, but afterwards he was kind of like, he was into it, and he was up for it, and he didn't mind getting shot at. And such is the power of this, magic for those people. That was kind of life-changing, fascinating for me to see how that can affect somebody's mind in that way. And of course, we paid for the goat afterwards as well. We ate it and we paid for it. We gave some money to the local village.
So my I had two life-changing experiences. I guess all experiences change your life to some degree, don't they? Unless they're a bit boring and you've done them lots of times. But I once in South Africa when I was on my way to Mozambique, and it was the first time in my life that I'd started to experience nerves, right? I'd never had like anxiety or any of that. Well, definitely not before I took drugs. And going out to Mozambique, I don't know why, but for some reason I was getting like nervous as I was staying over in Johannesburg, and I'd met this girl and I was staying at her place, and she just looked at me and said, "Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing's gonna be alright." Right? I actually sang that to Robbie Williams, which is my claim to podcasting fame, right? But in that moment, just that little soundbite, it just clicked with me, and I just thought there's no point worrying about anything, is there? Everything is always all right. So that was South Africa. In Mozambique, it was wandering past a mud hut one day, one of the mud huts in the village, And the woman outside went like, have you got any money or something like that to me? And I was with one of my students, a little chap called Anifo, who we used to go hitchhiking around Mozambique together. And we went over, and the woman like pointed in the mud hut. And when we went in, her child was in there, and the child was about 2 years old, something like that. And the whole of the child's face had fallen forward, like all the skin. You could see behind the kid's face and see their eyes in their skull, right? It was some hideous illness that this kid had got. And it was just like, oh my God, this woman isn't going to take the kid to the doctors, not because she's, evil or something, just because life is so cheap in these situations, and B, she's never going to have the money. Even I think it was 300 Meticash, which is nothing. It's like a 25p or something, right? To visit the doctor and get some meds. Well, if you haven't got it, you haven't got it, right? If you live in poverty, extreme poverty, you don't go to a doctor. You just get ill, and you die. And I remember just seeing that kid, and it was like, God, bloody hell. It's just so wrong, isn't it? That here in the West or the North or whatever we are, you don't even like give a second thought to the fact there's people on your planet living like that.
Yeah, people who literally can't get water, Chris, dying of thirst.
Yes, exactly. Got a film of you here, Chris. Let's get it on. Dun dun dun. Riding a horse. He looks a bit frisky. The horse. I mean, not you.
Oh, I was pretty frisky that day as well, to be fair. It's not coming up on my feed, Chris. Is it? Was it in China? Was it? Oh, I can see it. Yeah, okay.
You'll get a bit of a delay, mate. It's on the Kung Fu Taster. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Yeah. So that's wait, what is that? Let me see. Yeah, okay. So I got invited to go out to China and direct a series of television shows about traditional kung fu. So tracking down the traditional kung fu masters. So I got invited to go present that and to direct it. Dream come true, really. So I went out and worked in Beijing. We did all the research, and we went out and found lots of different kung fu masters. That particular place is where it's a very high altitude place in the north of China, and they train wild horses or historically they've trained wild horses to go to war, basically. So they are pretty frisky, the horses there, and they'd given me a particularly unhappy one to try and ride around and see if it sort of threw me off. I managed to stay on, luckily.
And now you're onto the moonshine, is it?
Yeah, man, it's like 80% strength, that stuff. That strips the skin off you. That's pretty bad stuff.
Let's get some volume on. I don't know, guys. I don't know if you can hear this at home.
I've got to drink 2 of these first, as I'm the guest of honour today. So cheers. Oh. Oh.
I'll give you credit, mate. At least you drank it. I
did. I think I ended up drinking the whole lot of it, to be honest, that night with the boys. Yeah. It was one of those, Chris.
Having my alcoholic tendencies, I hate it when you see people on TV and they're filming, let's say, an interview, and they're in the pub and they've both got a pint of real ale in front of them, and it's like fuck, are you going to drink that, If that was me, that first pint would have been slammed in the first 30 seconds of this interview. Then it would be, waiter!
Yeah, bring it on.
Barman, next one, please. Yes.
By the time they get around to filming, you'd be sozzled. Chris,
can you explain the Sifu, the title Sifu? What does that mean for those of us that are... I only know it from Kung Fu Panda.
Sure. So the word Sifu is comprised of two Chinese characters, Si and Fu. Fu, in the traditional sense, means father. In modern Chinese now, they'll quite often change that father word to a different kind of Fu, same sound, but that means teacher. And Si or Shi in Chinese means a teacher. So a teacher father or a teacher master. Essentially, it's what would you call it in Japanese? You probably heard of like sensei. Like, who's your sensei? You know, who's the karate sensei? It's similar to that kind of meaning. So it's a master teacher essentially.
Got you. What I have got to do, because my girlfriend insisted I play this bit. It's the clip we chatted about earlier. Master Ken versus Chris Crudelli.
He's brilliant, yeah.
And I guess I wanted to make the point that what you do is really quite serious. It's a serious art. It's got a lot of respect to it, a lot of history. Mm-hmm. But the problem is when you work for a documentary company or you're in the public eye, mm-hmm. you get roped into everyone else's shit programs, don't you? And then you've got to like pretend to be a dick or go along with it when it's.
Yeah.
Did you find that? You know, I mean.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people, I had to turn down a lot of gigs because some of them were a bit silly. It was all like the Cato gigs, you know. They kind of some of them were just silly and ridiculous. I do always want to try and have a sense of humour though, and kind of like have a laugh at myself as well. Because I can't, you know, I think like if you put yourself in, you know, if you're just two-dimensional, Chris, if you're just the hard man or just the Sifu or just the master, you're not really showing your three dimensions. And so you're absolutely right. So I went along to do that Master Ken thing. He's a bit of a legend in the martial arts. Martial artists all know who he is. He's a kind of a comic, really. And actually, he's quite a well-known actor. He does a lot of films as well, but in different disguises. You'll see him popping up every now and again. So anyway, he lives in the same town that my wife is from in the States. So I'd met him before and I gave him a call. I said I was in town. He says, "Come on over tonight. Let's do a sketch." So that's how that's how that came about.
I'm going to play a bit of it for the guys at home. Hang on. Oh.
Kung Fu of some sort. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are you going to be showing us today?
Today I'm going to be showing.
You can't keep it together from the beginning.
Yeah.
Guys, I can only play this in tiny little clips, so we don't get copyrighted by the Enter the Dojo show, which we probably will be anyway.
I'll finish with a math lesson.
Oh, this bit is funny. Hang on. Where are we? You say, "I'm going to teach ABC." He says, and we're going to finish with a maths lesson, complex fractures or fractions or something.
He's going to teach you some ABCs, and then I'll finish with a math lesson.
As well. He's brilliant.
Teach you about compound fractures.
Some of this, it's just so silly, isn't it? It's oh, hang on. We've got the Wheel of Death. Let's get rid of that one. Yes. What was it like doing a show like that then, Chris?
Oh, it's great fun. You know, real great fun. I'm a big fan of humor, big fan of comedy, and you don't really get to express that very much as a martial artist on the telly. You know, because people have a very kind of limited view of who you are and what you do. So for me, that was quite a lot of fun. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, it was good.
What's the what was it like doing was it Britain's Got Talent that you did?
Yeah. So they called me in to be a sort of, I don't know what you call it, sort of I think it was an after stage judge or something. So we were just discussing the people on the show really, and that was fun. They had a couple of martial artists on there which I was supporting and helping. and they did fantastically well. I don't think they win. I don't think a martial arts is ever going to win a show like that, are they, Chris? Because it's limited in it. You can't make millions out of selling records from people doing high kicks and smashing boards.
Yes. What? I don't know. You might be able to make something of this brick thing. What's going on here?
Oh yeah. So yeah. I was teaching Mr. Mulhern how to basically have the confidence to do that, smash a brick on his hand, because ultimately that is it's a trick, and it's about confidence. If you don't hit it hard, you hurt yourself. If you do hit it hard, you'll crack the brick.
Got you. Have you ever done firewalking, Chris?
Yes, mate. I ended up in hospital. 2nd degree burns.
Ha.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific, mate, in Thailand. I was at the vegetarian festival. You know what that is, Chris?
No, not the way you say it like that.
Where they poke themselves in the face with they'll put like big axes and spears through their body.
Yeah. I know that one.
So I went over there and did that. I didn't put the spear in my face, but they had this molten lava. Like I was like, yeah, I'll run on coal. Oh yeah. And I spoke to a mate. He said, oh, it's all about physics. Just run as fast as you can over coal. I didn't realise when I got there, it was a huge. It was like I think it was like 100 bags of coal or something, and it was molten and extended for far too long. So yeah, ran across that. 2nd degree burns. Not good.
Yes, you're not supposed to use coal. don't ask me.
Phosphorus on it as well, Chris.
Say again, mate.
Grated magnesium. They were grating magnesium and throwing it on the fire as you run.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, the reason you don't use coal is... Oh, hang on. I'm just going to... So I'm just getting my firewalk photo up. This is one of the silly things that I've done. Let me see if I can get that on the screen. Dun, dun, dun.
What is it you're supposed to use?
So, yeah. They say all this stuff about you've got to put yourself in trance, and if you're in trance, your feet don't get burned and that sort of stuff. And I learnt this from Anthony Robbins on his 2-day Awaken the Giant Within course. So I chose to go on that course when I left the Marines. And I used like my allocated money, my leaving money to go and see Tony Robbins basically. And on the first night, they teach you firewalking. So the photo I put up on the screen, that's how I raised some of the money to go and work in Africa. I didn't know a lot about the world back then. So the banner says Firewalk for Africa, as if like Africa's like one country that really needed my help. But there's something about the heat transfer from wood to your feet that so long as you keep a steady pace, you don't get burned. And the trance thing really does seem to help as well, because I did this one here. I did this 4 times, so 120 feet. And on the last time, I just thought, last time I'll just relax. And I came out of the trance halfway across it. And at that point, my feet just started to burn immediately. I did one in Africa to show the kids over there. And we raked up this massive carpet of embers. And some of the wood was hardwood. I don't know if that had a bearing on it, but bloody hell, mate, that burnt my feet as well. So it's not infallible.
Yeah.
Yes. What's the worst thing you've ever had to do in this kind of arena?
Worst thing? I don't know, mate. That's a good question. Well, I mean, it might not sound very exciting, but for me personally, when I was shooting that last documentary, the Kung Fu documentary, there was a guy that got run over in front of us by a truck. That was pretty unpleasant. I had to help him, and he died basically while I was helping him. And he's innards come out everywhere. That was pretty horrific. Suppose that's
Gosh,
that was pretty upsetting. You know, pretty sad.
yeah, I was on a night out in Plymouth, and some geezer crossed the road as you do on a night out, and bang, this car hit him really hard.
Yep.
And it was almost a bit comical. While he's lying dying in the road, the two people that are trying to help him started arguing. They're like, "No, dude, you do it like this. No, you do it. You shut the fuck up. Don't you tell me to shut the fuck." And like these guys were just about to go for it. It was quite inappropriate timing. But yeah, that's quite a full-on experience.
Yeah, I tell you as well. Just I don't, you know, won't go on too much about it, but it was a truck that had gone over him in the on the motorway, and there was a bus with two Buddhist monks in next to us, and the Buddhist monks got out, and they didn't want to know. Now, I'm a Buddhist, and I'm very pro-Buddhist, and I know that not everybody is great in any philosophy or grouping, but I remember being quite upset and shocked that they were just like, oh, they didn't want to know. We're not interested. And in fact, like a ambulance came about 5 minutes later, and it was, you know, there was two nurses with a stretcher, and they were like, they didn't want to know either, because it was all over the place. You know, this guy was literally his stomach and his innards were all over the place. So there's nothing you could do really. I just kind of held him until he died, give him a bit of comfort, you know.
Gosh.
So,
Which part of the world was this, did you say?
It was in North China, in Lanzhou, very North China, up by the deserts, yeah. Up near, you know, not Mongolia exactly, but not far away from that.
If it's anything like Hong Kong, they're very superstitious around death, and they won't come rushing to help like we probably would over here.
Yeah, I think it was just the horror of the thing, to be honest, that was upsetting the people. But yeah,
we got a question here from Stephen Van Dunk. Thank you, Steve. Says Sifu Chris, knowing you are one of the few masters actively passing on ancient knowledge and wisdom, passing it down, where do you see that progressing in years to come, surpassing yourself? So, am I right? Well, sorry, you probably understood.
No, they're not going to surpass me. They're having a laugh. Who do they think they are, these people? Well, of course, that's the hope, isn't it, Chris? You know, like if you've got a son, well, Sifu, Fu means father. And if you have a son, don't you want him to do better than you? It's, you know, there's no ego involved in it. It's, you want to try and help people be the best that they can be, the people that are under your guidance. So, yeah, I'm very happy to see them get better than me. And they will do, of course they will do. They all will do.
And there's also that thing, isn't it? It's like when you do work around addiction and sort of drug work, you're not going to be around to see the fruits of, or you might not be like in situ with this person to see the fruits of your wisdom and your labour. It might come to them 20 years down the line that something just clicks and they're like,
yeah,
Sifu told me that 20 years ago and I didn't realise at the time that it meant this, or
we had a guy come. I had a couple of these now. I had one guy come. He trained with us. He was a lad from up in Liverpool. I won't mention his name, but he trained with us for a couple of years, and he had a bit of autism, and he went his own way after a couple of years. And we heard from him. I got an email from him out of the blue, and he said, "Oh, Sifu, thanks so much. I got two lads. One attacked me the other day. One but not, you know, tried to stab me, and he goes, I don't know how I did it. I just blocked him, stripped the knife off him, and whacked him, and the other one ran off." And he was like, oh, I don't know where that came from. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So we do get that, you know, every now and again, which is always nice to hear. But and that's, I think, what important why I'm doing the franchise, and I'm teaching people now to go on and teach, and people are coming to us and training with us, Chris. You know, so that's all part of passing on the skills. You know.
So for our friends at home, if you want to learn any of these skills, including the Tai Chi, this is Chris's website, Crudelli.com. Get in touch with Chris, because life is short, and if you're looking to master any area of it, then this is something I would certainly get involved in.
It's a good point, Chris. Life is short, isn't it? And we hear that a lot. I hear people say to me, "Oh, I want to get fit before I join," or it's like, no, that you get fit while you're training. That's how you get fit. We don't beast you. It's like we're quite gentle with you. I had a guy get in touch with me a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, that name, well, that's an interesting name. I looked him up on my email. I typed his name into my email, and it came up. He got in contact first 11 years ago, and not come. Oh, I'm going to come to a class. 11 years later, he contacted me. Oh, I'm going to come to a class. It's like, just do it. Imagine how amazing you'd be already by now.
Yeah,
because you ain't getting any.
You get that a lot with the young lads that are going to join the Marines. They write to you and say, "I'm not going to apply just yet. It'll be next year when I'm fitter," and it's just, that next year might never come, might it?
Just throw yourself into whatever it is you want to do.
Yes, very much. And you're throwing yourself into this, Chris. I'm just going to play a bit. So 1 second.
Went for it. After about a minute or two, you start to lose your feelings. You start to lose care. It's a nice feeling, actually, when you sit with that and you just think, okay, I'll tell you what, if you're going to sit here for 5 minutes, I'll sit here for 10. I know at the end of the day, if I pass out, they'll drag me out, won't they? Hopefully.
If I pass out, they'll drag me out. You looked unusually out of your depth, excuse the pun, at the beginning of that, and then you looked like you mastered it towards the end.
It was an amazing experience, Chris. I don't know if you ever had hypothermia or pre-hypothermia?
Oh, mate, when I went through my bad phase of addiction, I used to get it like in an instant. It was obviously I wasn't going completely down, but I used to get to the point where I instantaneously be so cold I couldn't even move towards a heater, just because the air moving across my skin was just. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your
No, not at all. I'm really sorry you had that experience. That's just fucking horrendous to hear, mate. That's just horrible, absolutely horrible. But jumping across sideways to the story about the waterfall you're showing there, it was, it was minus whatever it was, the temperature. The water's flowing because the water's not frozen because it's flowing. It's quite a dramatic waterfall. They told me before I got in there that if I lifted my head up to look up, it'd snap your neck. So you've got to keep your head forward. You've got to keep your head forward. If you move your neck, it'll snap it. So that was a bit of an anxiety. The freezing water as well was a bit of a shock. When you get in kind of, I don't know, it probably was like -5 or something. It wasn't like -20, but it was still cold. I'd done my research before I went in there. I knew that you had probably 10 minutes before the hypothermia would become irreversible. So got in there, shivered, freezing cold. The idea with what they do is they get you to a hypothermic state, and then something happens to your brain, basically. And if you've ever experienced anything like this, it's very unusual. You freeze with the pain, and you shiver and shudder, and you can't control yourself. And then all of a sudden, as you start to go into the hypothermia, it feels like kind of a drugged experience. People have told me it's something like taking opiates. And you become very, very tranquil, and you're just okay with everything. Doesn't matter if you die, nothing matters, Chris, when you're in that state. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. You lose the feeling in your body, so you don't feel cold anymore. You stop shaking. And the idea is that they give you that near-death experience, that so-called near-death experience, and then they take you back, kind of resuscitate you, give you some alcohol, which is always quite welcome, to warm you up. And you just fall asleep, basically. You can't stay awake. You fall asleep for a few hours. When you wake up, it's like they've kind of wiped the hard drive. You feel quite different about things.
Wow. That day, it's just screwed me up, Chris, It just like screwed me up a bit. I don't deal
scars, mate. Mental scars.
Yes. Just want to say a quick thank you to our brother Quadrex over there in Ireland. thank you for chucking a tenner in the pot, mate. That's really, really kind of you. Much appreciated. Quadrex has been one of the biggest supports on the podcast. Get rid of that window. So thank you very much for that, mate. Yeah, do you do any of the cold water immersion now, Chris? Do you have cold showers or anything like that?
Yeah, well, pre-COVID, I still keep it up, but just when I'm at the gym. So I go to the gym, have a little, workout, whatever, and then I'll always have a ice cold shower. It's not to the same degree, but it just kind of, I think it's good for you, isn't it? It gets rid of inflammation, boosts the immune system.
Yes. And you get better at it, don't you? I know if I have a cold shower every day, I don't have my shower cold, but I turn it on cold at the end, and you can just last a little bit longer each time.
Yeah. So there's an old saying, they say it's like tempering steel. You take the hot steel. It was a show that I wrote as well. It was about, what I wanted to do was take kind of ideas about martial arts training and see whether we could find people could overcome their own fears and anxieties. So we had some people, I know it looks kind of scary, like we're kicking the shite out of that car and baseball bat in it and everything. So basically we took people who had phobias and I put them through a range of different experiences. This one here was, she had to be in the car was getting smashed up. So she was experiencing fear and adrenaline, then she had to come out and disarm somebody. So basically it worked as well. We took about 5 or 6 people from the UK, someone who'd never been, she couldn't go on a bus, one of them. She was so scared because she'd been attacked on a bus. Put her through martial arts training, some, like a week-long kind of intensive course, and just to build their confidence up and see whether they could address their phobias and their issues, and it worked. All of them did really well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Got a bit of the barroom brawling going on. Yeah, personally, I would have gone for the double punch in that situation, but
you're probably right, Chris.
That's just different schools of
martial arts experience.
Yeah, different philosophies.
It's just a bit of fun, Chris. It's just choreographed stuff. Of course, fighting looks nothing like that in real life.
That is what we were taught in the Marines.
Yeah.
Brooke just pointed out a funny one. I was trying to think of the name of this car. I didn't.
So what'd you do with a road rager and a baseball bat?
We're wondering if her phobia is being in a rover.
In a rover, yeah, it should be, shouldn't it? Yeah,
Alan Partridge style. Well, Chris, listen, we could go on all night, and I would severely love to chat more. But I don't want anyone looking at our wonderful stream and going, "Oh, that's over 2 hours. I haven't got time to watch that." So I'd rather keep it short and get more people watching. Is there anything you'd like to promote or say before we say our goodbyes?
I suppose if people are interested in learning a bit with me or with some of the instructors that I've certified, they can get in touch. My website, as you mentioned, is crudelli.com, CRUDELLI.com. We also have taichi24.club, and that's Taichi 24. So we teach Tai Chi, and Kung Fu 36. So, spell Kung Fu, KUNGFU, and then 36.com. So if people want to come and train with us, we do online classes, and we've got students now from all over the world joining us, Chris. We've got people from America, France, Sweden. It's a really good community of people. We welcome new beginners to our course. Just get in touch, see what we can do for you. We'd be very, very happy to meet you. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, my pleasure. I was just trying to thank Tony here, who's just chucked a couple of quid in the pot. Thank you ever so much, Tony. Really appreciate it. I'm trying to highlight your thing, but YouTube's not letting me. So, and also your prices, Chris. I didn't want to talk money on the podcast, but they were very reasonable, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, most of the, it's £5 a class or something like that. Most of the instructors that we have, so I've certified a group of instructors, people who've been training for 10 or 20 years and been training with me for a long time as well. They have careers in their own right, most of the instructors, so they're not just trying to, cash in on teaching. So classes are very reasonable. They're about £5 or something like that. And gradings, we charge 16 quid. It's a community-based club. I say we're not a business. We're a club. My fees are a bit more expensive. I think it's 7 or 8 quid or something for one of my classes. But still, it's all very, very affordable. So people can get in touch with us and come and train with us. We welcome new blood. We really do. And we'll look after you as well. And as Chris mentioned earlier, don't wait for a year. Don't put it off. Life is short. And don't have one of those silly excuses like, I need to get fit first, or I need to get strong first, or just come along. We'll look after you.
Yes, well said. Sorry, Chris, we've just lost our Zoom there. 1 second. Oh, bear with us, folks. Don't know if we're going to get that back. Try again. Is Chris gone into panic mode? Bear with me, folks. Now I've lost my cursor. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Rescued it right before the end. So,
Nice one.
Just going to get our chat back up to say thank you to everybody. Whereabouts is that one? Yes. Oh, Jules. Thank you ever so much, Jules. There we go. Look. Let's get Jules highlighted. We do like to say thank you. Thank you for donations. That's not highlighting for some reason. Hang on. Is it? There we go, Jules. Thank you ever so much, Jules. Really kind of you. Absolutely brilliant. So, just to finish, I'd like to say massive, massive thanks to you, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Just all the time. You're welcome back anytime on the podcast.
Thank you, mate. Very kind.
Really, really big thank you to you. To our friends at home, massive love to you all. Look after yourselves. You might have noticed below the videos now, we've got our merch up and running. So if you want a wonderful hoodie like this to show your love for the podcast and also help fund us a bit, we've got baseball caps, mugs, all the stuff I never thought I'd be saying, but I'm saying it now. All designed by yours truly. So yeah, I look forward to the first person that drops me a comment to say that they've bought something from the merchandise. That's it, Chris. Don't stay on the line, brother, because I'm going to play us out with my outro. So I'll send you a message to say thank you tomorrow.
Don't be silly. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me again, Chris. It's lovely to speak to you.
Oh, it's been brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, everybody at home. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. If you could like and subscribe and just share the video, that's really going to help us. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you, mate.
Hello, friend. I hope this finds you well. My name's Chris Thrall. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando. I fought my way back from chronic trauma and addiction to live, work and travel in 80 countries across all 7 continents, achieving all of my dreams and goals along the way. Now I pass my simple system on to other people, but I can only help you if you like and subscribe. So please do so, because you get one life, and if you live it right, one is enough.